Okay, it's recording now. I just want to make sure this is available for anyone, for everyone who's here and for everyone who is not able to join us to look through later. My name is Angelique Viscarno-Laboy. I'm the director of NYC DOT Art. For those who might not be familiar with our program, we are the art program for the New York City Department of Transportation. It was established in 2008, and since then we've been able to permit or commission nearly 530 installations across all five boroughs. One of the things that we do is our installations at signature events, and that's what brings us here today. We are doing this webinar to try to help artists and designers and anybody who's interested to have a smoother experience applying and a more successful experience in applying to be a part of this initiative. The We put out a Megan just wrote it in the chat. If you have any questions that maybe we won't answer in our frequently asked questions or that we don't answer as I'm going through this presentation, please go to the Q&A feature of Zoom and write a question there, and we will try to get to all the questions. The occasion that brings us here is an RFP, a request for proposals, which is open through February 8th on our submittable page. And this RFP specifically invites professional artists to submit proposals for 1 day art installations to be displayed at our 2026 signature events, namely Car-Free Earth Day and Summer Streets, which I'm going to speak a little bit more about. So Car-Free Earth Day happens in April, usually the Saturday either before or after Earth Day, which is April 22nd, and it's hosted by DOT. It's held in it's an event that happens across all five boroughs. There's different streets that become car-free, so they're as the name says, closed for car traffic, and it's really meant to be activated. There's programming, and there's different things happening throughout these spaces. And we do art installations. We do up to two art installations at these sites. And right now, so the budget for Car Free Earth Day specifically is up to $10,000 per installation. And this event is special in that there is a thematic reasoning behind it, which again, around Earth Day, climate change, sustainability, and other themes like that. So when we're looking for applications for this or proposals for this, we really would love if you could keep that in mind as you're proposing. We also have Summer Streets. So Summer Streets is 5 Saturdays across July and August, in which there are miles and miles of streets that are closed specifically again for people to enjoy. A lot of people run, a lot of people bike. There's all these other activities that people engage in, but there are also specifically rest stops, which have a lot of programming and different activities for people to do. And we also provide art installations for these spaces. We do, again, up to two installations. Um, and it depends on the day, what is possible. So the way that Summer Streets works is that 3 weekends happen in Manhattan, and then 2 weekends are split across the outer boroughs. So one weekend is Staten Island and Queens, so happening simultaneously, and another weekend is the Bronx and Brooklyn happening simultaneously. And so for an installation that gets selected just to do the Manhattan days is up to $20,000. And then an installation that gets selected just to be on the 2 Saturdays in the outer boroughs is also up to $20,000. But if there is a proposal that is able to do like all 5 weekends across all 7 locations, it's up to $50,000. And there's no specific theme for Summer Streets, but it is a celebration of like what's possible on our streets and like summer and fun. So some general considerations for these proposals would be that can submit new work, new proposals, site specific, which is often things that we are doing, but you also may submit existing work. Like you have an installation, a sculpture that you think would be really fitting for either of the themes or for the events, then you may submit that as well. Performances and mural art will not be accepted. They're not appropriate for the kinds of events that they are or what we're looking for. Up to two artists may be selected per event. When it comes to funding, we request that you submit a proposed budget with your proposal, but ultimately we will have a conversation with selected artists and determine the final budget. I also wanted to note that payment happens in two. So there is sort of half a payment once the final design is submitted, and then the second payment happens after the event happens. And day of consideration is that the artists have to be available and present during all events, during all hours of the event. As long as the art is there, the artist should be there or should have a team of folks or uh, either friends or family who are going to come and support them throughout the event and be able to speak to the work and make sure that if something happened to the work, they can manage it. It's also important that the artwork can be installed and de-installed quickly, approximately in an hour. Install can be longer, maybe around 2 hours, but the install has to happen very quickly because the streets start opening again to incoming traffic. So it has to be work that we're able to sort of move in and out quickly. Most of the locations where we are installing these artworks are concrete sidewalks or asphalt street spaces, so a consideration to have. And the events are rain or shine. So you do have to plan for sort of inclement weather if it's like pouring rain, so something that's not gonna completely be destroyed getting wet or even withstanding high winds. So I want to share some examples of artwork that we have shown at these events in the past few years. Carve for Earth Day, we had on the left we have Harmony by Natalie Wood. It was a sculpture. This is an example of an existing artwork, actually.
Hey,
She
Angelique, we're still seeing general considerations.
Oh, weird. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing and share again because my screen is moving. Um, Stop sharing. Okay, and let's share again. Hmm, Is it working now?
I'm seeing the DOT Art has started screen sharing, but it hasn't loaded yet.
Um, I don't know what's happening. Uh, okay, give me a moment here. Stop
It's
sharing.
not a webinar without some technical difficulties.
Megan, can you try to go on to the presentation and see if you're able to pull it up?
Yeah.
Uh, please. Uh, we appreciate your patience. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
What folder is it in? Presentations, but then
Hold on.
in the meantime, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A.
Yay. Okay. Good. Thanks, Megan. Okay. Excellent. All right, I will continue here. As I was saying, on the left, you can see Eco Harmony by Natalie Wood. This is an existing work. She takes old furniture and takes live plants, succulents and moss and other plants, and puts them on this furniture to create this sort of living sculpture. And so we installed this in the Garment District area. It's really more of a piece that you just like see, engage, take photos with, which a lot of people like doing at the events. To the right, we have Rising Curtains, which was we showed last year by Anjali and Ernest. And this piece, it's a beaded curtain that's showing how much the global temperatures have changed. So you can see like the clearer colors is sort of like the colder temperatures, and these darker, more saturated colors show global warming. And I'm going to show more about these works later, or more information about them. We also had Asphalt Asters by Molly Gambardella last year, which was in the Flatiron area. And these pieces were used using basically like these plastics that you can't get rid of. So she's turning them into artwork. Basically turns plastic into textile and then creates these flowers, which were also something that people were, as you can see, stopping by to take a look at and take photos with. To the right, we have Kelp Parade by Amanda Thackeray and Wendell Jeffrey. And they also similarly use this plastic, single-use plastic that we can't recycle or get rid of to create banners that really flowed really well with the wind. I'm going to note April tends to be windy, so Car Free Earth Day is a really, when you're proposing for Car Free Earth Day, like really think about wind in your proposals. But they also had an activation in which they had a parade in which the banners every so often would walk around a few blocks before coming back into their original location. For Summer Streets, some examples are Weaving Together by Cynthia Alberto, which was a series of looms in which we invited people to come weave with us, and they were creating communal tapestries. And so everybody sort of got to work on these at the same time, and there were different ways of engaging with it. So the little kids could do it, different folks with like different abilities could do it. It was set up in a way where it was really welcoming to everybody. And then Friends and Follies by Kintaka, also an existing artwork. And for that, they do it's a duo that makes these inflatable creatures, and they have different ways of engaging with them. This was in Staten Island, so you can see they had these like donut floaties that people could throw and like try to get through the pegs. And Collective Bloom by Acrylicize and Crozier. It's this piece in which they took a hand bike and also some other bikes again that they were recycling, and they turned it into this one installation in which by everybody moving or pedaling, the flower at the top would spin. It was really cool to see. And again, the point, as the title says, collective, was that everybody working together could make the flowers spin. Otherwise, it's static. And an older example by Risa Puno, it's the course of emotions, which, as you can see, it's a little mini golf, but also had more narrative behind it. Okay, so what makes a successful application? First, we want a clear written and rendering or sketch. So we want to make sure that whatever sort of narrative you have behind the artwork that you're proposing matches what the rendering is. And we want to be able to like it's clear, concise. We want to understand what you're trying to explain. And again, with the rendering sketch, and it doesn't have to be like a super developed rendering or sketch, but just that it's clear that it matches what the concept is. We also like seeing a demonstrated experience producing similar work. So whether it's again an existing work, then we know what it looks like, and great when we see that it's been activated before, it's been shown in the public space before, but also just seeing that if you are proposing um, a sculpture made out of wood, that you have worked with wood before, so that we have some inkling and or proof of concept when it comes to what you're proposing. Aesthetically impactful. We often these pieces are sort of, plop in the street and folks are running. Folks are running, they're biking, they're going really fast. So we want something that's gonna make them stop, right? We want something that people are gonna be like, wait, I gotta stop and see what this is. So we want something that's like visually arresting. We also connection to the event's mission is important, whether it's car for your day or summer streets, ease of installation and the installation. So as I mentioned, it has to be something that can like go up and come down quickly, but especially come down quickly. Durable materials. I also mentioned this a couple times. Car for Earth Day, April tends to be windy. So really considering like what is my proposal and how do I make sure that this stays in place through the duration of the event, which I don't know how long it is. It's about 7 6 7 hours long. Uh, Maybe Megan put that in the chat how long the events tend to last. Yeah, and then as a huge plus, if there's interactivity and programming elements to your proposal, that's great. It's like not required, but ideal and really wonderful if it's there because it adds a layer to the work and to people engaging with the artwork and spending time there. Next. Okay, so then I wanted to show some examples based on these other projects that I've already shown. But for example, this is Molly's work, which you saw on the right, but on the left, you see past work, and you see that clearly this is a technique that she has developed. She's made these kinds of flowers before, so it wasn't a far stretch to imagine how they would look like or what they would look like or um, what to expect. Next. Okay. Then, and yeah, I should note that we have not announced dates yet, so I've shared the tentative sort of time or uh, just sort of months that things happen, or about the weeks that happen, but we haven't announced dates yet, or hours, but they tend to be more than a couple hours long. Interactivity, like I mentioned, is a huge plus. I talked about Acrylicized's work on the right, but I also wanted to show the left. So the left is the rendering that they provided in their proposal, which I'm gonna note is different than what ended up being the final project, which is fine. Like a proposal, and it's just like it's a concept. It's not necessarily like we're expecting that you're gonna do exactly that. And we will provide feedback and we will work for you to make the best installation possible. So originally they thought the flower was gonna sort of open and close as this pedaling is happening. And then they realized that was a lot more complicated. And that's how we ended up with this sort of spinning motion instead. But again, in interactivity, it was a big hit. People were like, "Ooh, what's happening?" And they all wanted to like work together to make the flower spin. Next, programming, I also mentioned as a huge plus. So again, we expect artists to be there to be able to talk to the work and explain to people what they were thinking when they created the work, or if there's a bigger message to the work. But in case of Rising Curtain, there was one people could like write on the artwork itself based after the artist explained what it was about. But there was also a table that people could sit down and make beaded work, like whether it's a bracelet, a keychain, or whatever they wanted to do to go along with the artwork. Next. Takeaways, also a huge plus, not necessary, but great. In terms of Natalie's work, she had this giveaway of little succulent cuttings. It was also a big hit. It was just free, like people could like come engage with the work and then take a cutting with them home. So work, it's a takeaway that's relevant to what her work is about. Activation. So again, we don't do performances, but an activation of an installation is possible. So on the left, you can see the kelp parade, the banners that were just there, and they created these like foundations for them to hold. Um, the so wait, not done. But you can see, and I just wanted to know, you can really see the wind in this one. Keep saying April's windy. You can really see it in this one. But again, at some point they did maybe like three different times. They would pick up some of these and then walk the banners up and down, and then put them back into their pedestals. Okay, so some frequently asked questions. Can artists who are not local to NYC apply? Yes. However, the budget does not cover shipping or travel really outside the tri-state area or like very close neighboring states, and it does not cover accommodations either. So it's sort of your prerogative if you are outside of that range, whether you want to apply or not. Can you submit multiple proposals? Yes, you can. If you are trying to propose multiple artworks, then for like so two different artworks, let's say, then you do two separate applications. But if you have one artwork, one proposal that you just like to say, like, I want to show this at either Carfree or Summer Streets, then you just submit one application and it's submittable. There is a checkbox that says like what event are you interested in, and it says like car free, summer streets, or both, and so you would mark both. Like I said, can I submit a performance? No. Again, activations of artworks, yes, but for performances, no. So there has to be a structure of some kind. There has to be an installation. There has to be a visual element that is there most of the time. Next.
Um,
Or
I, hello from the back end, um, was gonna come on screen to kind of add to that, that one of the questions we got in the chat was whether, or in the Q&A, sorry, was whether a proposal could be like an art making activity. That similarly to the performance, it's like if the art activity was alongside an installation that could work. But if it was purely the activity, that wouldn't be appropriate for this open call. But there is an open call closing tomorrow through the DOT Public Realm team. So through DOT, we don't manage it, but we can definitely share the link to it. Which is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Open Streets. I'm going to start that over. There is an open call for programming sort of more generally
Mhm,
for open streets events. DOT will be putting out a separate call for the programming partners at the signature events. So that is not live yet, but will be likely pretty soon. And that will get shared on the main DOT Instagram, and we will certainly reshare it. So there
mhm,
are applications that we get that aren't necessarily appropriate for this, but would be a great fit for that and for the rest stop activities.
mhm. Okay, let's go to the next page. What is included in the budget? It it does include the artist fee. We do a maximum of 20% of whatever the budget is as the artist fee, and the artist fee is just sort of like here's a fee for creating this or for this object existing. It includes fabrication or repair work, production, transportation, staff labor, takeaways, equipment, whatever it is you need to have the installation that day. DOT does provide either 1 to 2 10 by 10 tents, 1 to 2 tables and chairs. And I I'm gonna reiterate to please ask questions using the Q&A feature, but I'm gonna clarify that yes, artists have to be throughout the duration of the event, which again, it could be 6 hours. We also tend to be there, so one of us will be there on site, and so artists can have will have a lunch break, as will we. But yes, it is like a full day of being there with the artwork.
And I'll note that artists are usually working with some number of kind of assistants as well, especially when we're talking about summer streets where it could be several consecutive weekends or it could
Mhm.
even be two different locations.
At the same time.
So in that case, the artist is potentially hiring staff to do that or working with kind of like their existing studio assistants and different
Mhm.
things. Someone else, there was something else I wanted to add. But yeah, basically the artist, as part of their budget, as part of what they are responsible for the project, is staffing in some way. It doesn't necessarily like always need to be the artist, but it should be someone who is, capable of managing the installation, knows how the setup and breakdown needs to work, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and folks had asked about the budget. I think this, goes over it. It really is everything that would be included in the project. Someone earlier had asked about the 20% artist fee. That artist fee is set, but it's not like necessarily the only place in the budget for the artist to receive payment. Like we're saying that the artist would potentially be their staffing. They could be getting paid for that staffing time as well. And then also, depending on whether it's like working with a professional fabricator or the artist fabricating it themselves, the artist may also be like the fabrication budget would potentially also include their labor. Um, so that 20% fee is really thinking about like conceptualizing the work, but there are other portions of the budget that may also go to the artist. Is there more slides after this?
Yes, but or no, it was the live Q&A. But I didn't get to the last one, which but I'll just say here, it's like all these events are free. So all programming, giveaways, takeaways, anything is free. And so I understand you might have like merch or something like that, but we cannot sell it during the event. So just a note to put out there. And then Megan, are there any other questions that we should be underscoring or answering
Um,
now?
no, I think that is pretty
Okay.
much it. We've kind of addressed the ones that have come in live. So if folks have additional questions that they think about after this, you can email us at arts@dot.nyc.gov. Um,
You can
and
you
yeah,
can go to the next page again, the
okay.
next slide. So this recording will be available tomorrow on the DOT's YouTube page, but also on the our website. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat to where you can find us, which is it says it right here, nyc.gov/DOT art. And as like again, as a reminder, February 8th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the deadline for this RFP. As Megan was saying, Megan, can you put the email in the chat so that folks can, or maybe you did already. Sorry if you, I haven't, I can't see everything. Um, but please email us if you have any questions before then, so we can try to get you all the information that you might need. I think maybe another question came in.
Recycled or reclaimed materials.
We don't have access to that. Yeah.
Um, Another just kind of general plug, I mentioned that there is not yet, but will be a programming open call for the signature events programming partners, and that there is currently an open call closing end of day tomorrow for more general open streets programming. If you follow our Instagram and look at the highlights on our page, we usually keep a highlight for current open calls. So those opportunities are linked there. We'll add the programming partners one once that comes up. And Also, closing with the same February 8th deadline, we have an open call for muralists based in the US. So that's also live right now. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Sorry, I'm seeing questions in the Q&A. Um, just want to make sure that folks, if you don't know about the Q&A feature, that you are going there to read the questions that have been answered already.
Um, Access to water or electrical power. I would say that
Perhaps.
please indicate that in your proposal. It really kind
Uh-huh.
of depends on, like, we coordinate with the team that manages these events overall, and they usually are letting us know the siting for these locations. So we can't necessarily guarantee water and power access, but I would say note that in your application. That's something that we could work through and we would certainly talk about at an interview stage, because it kind of depends exactly where the work is going to end up going.
Okay. And I'm seeing some more questions. Uh, no, if there are two artists, there's only one artist fee. It's only 20%. It cannot be 20% each. It's just 20% fee flat for the budget line. That is the artist fee. Uh, it is your prerogative if you want to pay a staff line to a curator. That's your prerogative. If that's like staff that's included on your team. Um, Megan, any other of these questions that should be answered? I think there was, well, it's a question that it's like, I think I just want to read these out loud just to make sure that people, I don't know if everyone is seeing the Q&A portion uh on here. Would you mind reading some of these questions out loud that we've
The ones
answered?
that I've already answered or the ones that
Yep,
are open?
the ones that are answered.
Um, Does this program include the possibility for young artists to be involved as assistants? I noted that artists will often hire assistants to help them. It is the responsibility of the selected artist to hire those assistants. So we can't exactly speak to who they'll end up hiring. I will say when we've worked with artists who maybe don't have those assistants kind of already set, like they don't have assistants that they always work with that they know they'll plan to work with. They've sometimes put out like a Google form asking for folks to potentially help them. When they've done that, we've often shared that on our Instagram, most often with murals. I don't know that that's really come up as much for this kind of installation, but yeah, they certainly could work with young artists, but ultimately it's up to the artists themselves.
And I think the only other one that I want to underscore is that having sort of a station where people are creating their own artwork is just, we consider that to be purely programming. So that is not a proposal that we would accept. There has to be an installation, whether it's a sculpture, some kind of immersive experience that goes along with whatever the programming is, but it cannot be the programming on its own. And I think everything else we have covered out loud. Yes. Okay. Great. Um, okay. So I think that is all for today. Like we said, the webinar will be available tomorrow, so you can check it out. You can ask us questions if you think of something after this, and we are excited to see your proposals. Have a
Great.
good rest of your day, and thank you, Megan, for your support.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.